So the Nagel Institute devotes itself to the study of world Christianity. Africa has always been associated with Christianity. From early on, some of the most ancient forms of Christianity were from Africa. Africa is the most Christian continent on earth. In Africa, there's a concept called Ubuntu. It's often been attributed to Desmond Tutu, the line that I am because we are. And it really means that your own identity, it's an identity that's part of a wider network and a wider system. Because even below the surface of, say, Muslim-Christian violence, there is this shared humanity. And so Ubuntu emphasizes the shared humanity. Africa and African religion is not typically interested in drawing boundaries between the secular and the sacred. And it's really a much more a holistic approach to life. And I think you'll see in a lot of our grants that we have here in this conference, religion is always part of the mix, both when there is a problem and when there is a solution in Africa.
Wellness for Africa is very robust and very comprehensive. It is not restricted to the body. The idea of wellness translates into emotional, spiritual, and communal kind of wellness. Those elements must be brought into the treatment of the human body rather than just narrow down to the physical being. What if religion broadened its view on the practical relationship and sharing of resources between the healing spaces?
So Africa is the fastest growing continent in terms of urbanization. So shifts from 414 million people currently living in African cities to about 1.2 billion people in the next 30 years. The greatest challenge of that is that 62% of that still remains urban slums. How do we actually use theological curricula to imagine what cities could look like by 2050 for them to be good places and flourishing places for all people? It's the access to healthcare and education and all of that. All those as expressions of God's care and love. What if theologians and city planners collaborated in building the future cities of Africa?
The Pokot and the Marakwets, they were friends from the very beginning, and they had a sport that they call cattle rustling. So one group would steal and the other group would pursue, just to see who is the winner. It's not a game anymore. So they are always fighting about the cattle, stealing from each other and killing each other. And so we have war around this. They don't run to the government offices. They come to the church. The church becomes a mediator between these two fighting communities. What if the members of the church and the community at large would look beyond their ethnic affiliations? Would that transform conflict?
So Kene is a special name given in Ethiopia for a particular kind of poetry. There is a school of poetry where teenagers are formed to become poets. They must be improvised, no rule for copying or for repeating. There is an apparent meaning and a deeper meaning. And the main sources for that are the scriptures, observation of nature, and current situations. Praise is the means to understand better oneself, to understand better revelation, to understand better the scriptures. What if religion used poetry as a way to deeply understand the scriptures?
After 1994, South Africa opened up. South Africans, they were competing for the same resources with foreign nationals. So this started breeding some tensions, and that led to the first xenophobic attack in 2008. The people were not really looked as humans, and for them to get that humanness back, the church was the only place that they could get that. What if we were to understand religion and theologizing from the perspective of migrants?
If we use that metaphor of Ubuntu, we want to make it much wider, building these connections between Christians so that we could learn from one another across the globe. These very diverse groups of Africans from all over the continent are here together speaking about their topics. I think Africa's future is extremely bright. Perhaps the best metaphor for me is the concept of rain. Prayers surrounding rain, and then that expectation which often goes unfulfilled for a long time. But then when it comes, it's just an absolute blessing. And I think African Christianity experiences some of that in itself as well. It is a blessing to Africa, but also to the wider world.